Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time you're listening to this webinar, either if you're on our live podcast or you are listening to us on demand. Welcome everyone for our November edition of Women Leaders in Customer Success on behalf of myself, Mina, and the Practical CSM. So if you've been listening to our series before, I'm excited to bring you this series of great CS women leaders. Every month we have a new guest speaker, and together we look at different topics around customer success, as well as some other variations of what comes with being a great CS leader, as you'll hear in today's episode. Today I have a pleasure of introducing you to Nieves Canada, and I probably said your name incorrectly, I apologize, as my guest, and we'll be talking about strategies to drive new and aspiring CS leadership roles. So that's where I was going with. Sometimes we talk about things that are not just exactly CS, but I'm really excited for this conversation. Nieves, welcome to our podcast. Excited to be talking with you again. I know we've done some collaboration before, and I know everyone will have great time listening to yourself. So let's just kick things off by, could you just introduce yourself to the audience? Tell us a little bit more yourself and your background.
Sure. Thanks, first of all, Mina, for having me. It's always a pleasure to change thoughts with you. So I'm Nieves, I'm Spanish, and I'm living in Belgium already for quite some time. I have about 16 years of experience in the software industry. And I've had the opportunity to build structure and scaling customer-centric organization during the last couple of years. I'm currently the Vice President of Customer Success at Settlement, and here I oversee the customer success, community support, and customer education roles across different regions, MEA, Middle East, and Asia. Also, in addition to my leadership role, I'm super passionate about developing skills and the potential of people. And I leverage my credential as a professional coach to deliver coaching programs that are tailored to new customer success leaders.
Amazing. I mean, obviously coaching can be more talked about topic these days. Could you tell us a little bit about what excites you about coaching leaders, and why this sort of topic of building CS leadership is close to your heart?
Well, I think nowadays nobody will question that your people are your greatest assets, of course. And I really believe the connection between the vision of a company and the results relies on that leadership layer. So I think how the leader is able to translate that vision into a plan and enable the team to be at their best, that's for sure what leads to results. And for me personally, it's close to my heart because, first of all, I've experienced bad leadership, and I know what that means. So I've been micromanaged, I felt lack of trust, and that really affected my self-confidence, and that's imposter syndrome, it's so famous nowadays. And that's not really a nice feeling to have. And on the other hand, I genuinely believe in that each person will have our unique talents. And when you work with people in a team in developing those talents and not focusing on the weaknesses, I think people can thrive and also feel a deep sense of fulfillment. So that's why I enjoy being a leader, and because I really love to support people in that growth, and of course supporting other people so that they can also enable their teams.
Great. I mean, one of the things that I guess is a cliche that needs to be said, but leaders are not born, they're made. So obviously, these things will help. But if we start from the beginning, what do you think are some key qualities or characteristics that you believe every successful CS leader should possess? And how then, as a coach, do you help to develop these qualities?
I think in general, a leader is able to articulate a clear vision provide the guidance, and really open an environment for a dialogue within the team. So strategic thinking is a crucial quality for leadership. They should be able to align the CS initiatives with the broader business goals to ensure a cohesive and impactful approach. Very important within customer success, I think empathy is in our core quality or skill set as customer success managers. But also as a leader, you think to translate that empathy into how you manage the team. Understanding what the different perspectives are from the team members, that helps to cultivate a positive and an environment where everyone can collaborate together. And of course, you and I know that when you work in startup and scale-ups, adaptability is one of the key components as well to ensure that you as a leader can drive change. And also resilience, because there will be moments where you need to navigate difficult times and be resilient. That's also a very important quality to develop. So coaching actually plays a critical role in developing those skills that can be taught via a book, for instance, because it's really about enhancing your communication skills, learn to navigate very complex situations, and cultivate that deep understanding of the different perspectives. And when you, as a leader, receive coaching, you can even identify your blind spots, develop further that empathy that it's within you as a CS anyway, and also understand how to build that resilience that it's so important in navigating those difficult times.
What a powerful sentiment from there in terms of what are the great skills plus how you can develop them. So I think there's lots there. How would you as a coach identify which skills someone needs to work on? How do you go about that process?
That's also where we are focusing on the program. There are like 3 main core areas. The leader needs to work, first of all, on himself or herself, then also on the team, and then on the strategy. If you don't understand certain things about yourself, you cannot work on it. The same where you are lacking with your team, and you can be a great customer success manager, but you also need to probably draft the strategy. So the thing is to reflect on those core 3 areas and identify, can I have difficult conversations with my team? Am I feeling okay delivering bad news? Do I have a team that is taking feedback as a gift? And then you can really deep dive into those areas where you can further develop yourself to be able to, of course, develop the team.
Yeah. So did I get that right? So 3 areas you typically look at is self, the team, and that sort of strategy side of things. Great. Yeah. Good. So in your past 16 years of experience, what are some of the common challenges that you've seen in people that are new to CS leadership roles? How does this sort of coaching facilitate and help that?
First of all, I think when you are a customer success manager that knows all the ins and outs about customer success, and you're promoted to leadership, you are playing a new game, right? So I think from being a peer in your team to be a leader, that's already a dynamic to come, because the perceptions might be different, and the expectations also from your peers, from when you're a manager and from you're another colleague. Also, when people take on a first-time leadership role, some of them assume they need to have all the answers.
Right.
Because you look at leadership, like, I have a problem, I go to my leader and we will solve it. So they are afraid to say, I don't have the answers, and they take a lot on their shoulders because they are afraid to ask for help, which it's part of their growth as well as leaders. So that leads to increased stress, of course, finding that work-life balance, that it's already tough when you have a book of accounts under you. Now you have to add probably some customers, then your team, and then crafting the strategy. So it's really taking a lot. So with coaching, it's really about working on, I would say the three main issues are learning how to develop, delegate, so that you are the micromanager. And it's all about developing a sense of confidence so that you can be vulnerable, you can have a clear communication with your team, and you can also build trust from both sides. You need to trust your people are doing a good job, and they need to trust you as a leader. Because when you know, okay, this person is great in handling CRM things, that will be your person to delegate anything related to CRM. So you need to learn that it's a process. It's not something that you go into a leadership role and that comes naturally. So with coaching, we really work on that. Having difficult conversation, that's also a very recurrent topic, because we normally in CS are people pleasers. So we don't like conflicts. We want everyone to be happy, and we avoid conflict a little bit. So what we do from a coaching perspective is we shift the mindset from avoiding conflict to this conversation is going to help my team to thrive. Because if you avoid having that difficult conversation because you don't know how to take that, it will turn then into a more difficult conversation when you don't trust the person will perceive it, and in the end, you will part ways. So you don't want to come to that end, and therefore you really need to work on how to give feedback, how to say things to unlock their potential.
Nice.
And also, the last thing I want to say, because there is a lot of around mental workload and the increased workload that you will have as a leader. They also need to lower their bar, because when you start sending emails at night over the weekend, you are setting a precedent for your team. So as a team member, you feel, oh, my boss is sending me something on a Saturday, I should be answering as well. You don't want your people to be working during their free time. You want them to disconnect so that they can come with a fresh mind on Monday. And it all starts with you. So setting your priorities, learning what your goal is, what your milestones are, building that path and that roadmap will set you up for success, so that you don't need to work over hours. You can always recenter in your strategy, and that will have the impact on your team as well.
I think that's nicely said. I think the bar start with you in terms of what is the expectation, and if you are expecting definitely people to follow your lead, then you have to walk the walk, right? One thing I was also curious is you were talking about difficult conversations within your team. What about upwards? What about managing the other stakeholders? How does that feature into these coaching conversations?
That's a very, very important aspect of a new leader, because of course, so far you are managing customers and the expectations of the customers, which are not evident. But of course, when you enter CS as a new leader, and I'm talking specifically when you kind of need to build that first function within a company, you need to advocate for customer success within your new peers, which are sales leadership, marketing leadership, product leadership. So it's super important to bring visibility on the success of your team inside. It's important to be out of your CS bubble and understand how sales and customer success work together, the synergies that you can build with marketing and with product. Because when you understand the other parts, you can you can really unlock collaboration. And it's also very important that your team goals as a CS department are aligned with sales, with marketing, with product, because if it's not aligned at that level with your key stakeholders, there will be compensation issues that will put the teams working against each other. For instance, when you have CS working on expansion and sales as well. So it all starts with your new peers and understanding how you and them can benefit each other.
Nice. And it goes back to that driving the same objectives overall as a company, right? And then filtering that down from there. I would be curious to ask you, because you've had a big experience as a CS leader. Could you sort of tell us the audience a little bit about your personal anecdote or sort of a defining moment that influenced how you view leadership or how you approach leadership in your teams?
Yeah, and actually I have to admit that this was quite recent because I was already in leadership and in coaching, but I was part of a coaching leadership program. And there was a very powerful question, and it was something like, what for are you a leader? What happens that's makes you being a leader? What's in there? And to give you, that's kind of a little story, a personal story around that. To give you more context, from coaching, I know that children are building their system of beliefs until the age of 7, something like this. Okay. So basically what you tell to a child until that age, they will take it as a truth. So a very stupid example. When I was a child, my mom said, here you have a fresh orange juice, drink it fast because otherwise you will lose the effects of the vitamins. So still today, when I turn 40, when I have a fresh orange juice, I drink it at once because I still believe otherwise I will lose the vitamins. So with that in mind, I have my brother, when he was a child at the age of 6, he had a very old school teacher from those old times where girls were apart from boys. She was still teaching. It was her last year, and she really didn't like working with boys because they were more dynamic and more noisy. So what she did, it was terrible. She basically every time repeated things to these little boys like, you are stupid, you are not worth it, your parents will never be proud of you. So my brother, and we didn't know that at that time, grew up thinking, I'm not worth it, I don't have any talents, I'm not a good student. And I grew up seeing my brother with so much potential, and he couldn't realize, and I was surprised, like, but he's more intelligent than me, he learns super fast. Why doesn't he have any ambitions? And then later we learned why. That was the impact of that teacher. So wow. I think for me, I've always tried to support my brother in letting him see that he had unique talents, that he had to believe in himself, and kind of trying to support him in becoming his best version. And that was for me coming to that coaching program, an aha moment, like, of course, that therefore I'm in leadership. I also want to make others feel like I did with my brother, letting them know these are your unique strengths, your skills, and I want to support you in getting there and make that visible for you in case you are not aware of that. So that's for me a very deep moment to realize that's why I'm in leadership.
That's very, very powerful. I think this is the other thing that I often talk to aspiring leaders, is that you really need to have your own why, or why you want to do it. Because if you're in it for the glory and the money, it really isn't that glorious or that well paid in comparison. So great anecdote there. Anyone, by the way, if you have more questions for Nieves, feel free to put them in the chat. We'll get to them in the end. Keeping a little bit in a similar, you were just mentioning a little bit about the CS Leadership Program. Can you give us a little bit more glimpse on what you cover in? How does it support the leaders plus the companies, and address any of these challenges that we've also talked about in terms of what you face at first.
So you mean how we are supporting leaders, right?
Yes, in your coaching program, yeah.
Yeah. So again, I had to find my own way in the hard way, and I've been both in coaching programs, in leadership trainings, and what I tried is to take the most out of both worlds and blend that. So it's a mixed approach with transferring knowledge, but also a really deep self-awareness part, because there are those skills that really, again, you cannot develop just by reading a book. There is, I was talking about these 3 pillars on self-awareness, team, and strategy. So actually what we want is people to work on being aware of who you are as a leader, your why, your values, your blind spots, and how to navigate through different or difficult times. Then for your team, very practical insights into how to boost collaboration, motivation, creating that culture of feedback, that safe space for the team. And then, of course, your strategy. So from setting your vision to create that roadmap, setting those priorities so that you don't get overwhelmed, and having that map that you can always go back and see, okay, I feel lost. My team is having the chicken without head syndrome that I call. Let's go back to our strategy and our roadmap. And I have here my piece of or my plan that I can have after this training with me to stay focused and bring that clarity as well to the team.
Well, I think that's a very powerful thing, to be able to pull out of your bag every time you feel a bit too overwhelmed and stressed. Yes. Switching gears a little bit, let's talk about the trends in changing world of CS now. Obviously, you do not need to go on any other webinar not to hear word AI or automation mentioned, for example, but that's just one of the trends. So how would you recommend new CS leaders to keep up to date on what's going on in the industry or in CS in general, and continue to learn throughout your career? Because otherwise you may also again be left in the back, right? So what's your advice on this?
We have a great customer success community. So the good thing is there's a huge tons of information out there. But the problem is there's so much information that you can also get overwhelmed. So I always, when I have conversations with customer success leaders, I always say, go to events, go to the online communities, go to your CS podcasts, webinars, but filter based on what your needs are, because otherwise you can get overwhelmed. We still have to work, right? So we could spend hours and hours and hours listening to webinars, going to events, but really filter on, okay, I know where I am, I know where I want to develop, or I know where I want to focus, I want to learn more about communities. Then go for that topic for a while. Go deep into that, because you can be busy with 1,000 things, and in the end, you cannot have those deep learnings. Yeah. I think it's also important to be aware that there is always hypes and a lot talk about community, digital CS, AI, but the reality is we are not there yet. Many companies are still not there yet. So it's more about us talking about that than in the reality, how many people are really in that stage. So don't set the bar too high. It's a journey, and talk to people. I think talking to people and go to expand your network, not only within CS, but also with people that, if you want to learn about AI, go out of CS, go to industry or even other departments that have already some AI experience. Then you can bring that to your own CS world. Of course, ideally, if you can find a mentor, that's the best advice I can give you, because that's also a very good way to speed up things. And I think that would be keep a learning mindset and absorb with a filter, I would say.
I love that, absorb with a filter, because yes, you can totally get overwhelmed with all of it. So I think we've talked a lot about sort of the strategy side of things. What about what would you give as advice for people who are finding sort of first time CS leadership a little bit overwhelming? How do you come back from that? How do you give them some guidance and advice?
I think first, invest in getting to know yourself. It's like in the airplane, they say take your oxygen mask first before you help others. I think being a first-time leader is about finding your own oxygen mask, and then that will help you to invest in your team's development. So there is pre-work to do with ourselves that we just ignore, and we want to go immediately into results, but it's not working like this, right? So you really need to have a good foundation for yourself, then with the team, and then of course you need to have that that strategy and that plan. But certainly look into your own areas of growth, identify and map the talents of your team so that you can also identify gaps to fill that the team will need, from hiring to retention, because then you will have everyone working on their sweet spot. Mm-hmm. And take it as a journey. It doesn't need to be everything completed tomorrow. You have your roadmap. It's a journey, and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a learning, right? We're always a work in progress, right? Just in the interest of time, I want to wrap up for our audience. What would you like to leave the audience with from, if they don't remember anything else from what we talked about in the last 30 minutes, what do you tell them to call for action items?
Call to action, first of all, is CS leadership is a very rewarding role. Enjoy the journey you are embarking. Don't put the bar too high. It's going to be a learning process, so embrace it like it is. And really work on your team growth, because with their growth will come your growth as well. Go out of your CS bubble, keep eyes all over the place, not only on your company, but how CS is done in other companies, because this will also enrich a lot how you bring your own touch into your leadership, into your products and your environment. I think that would be those main things or key takeaways.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. I'm assuming if anyone wants to have a further chat, please feel to connect with Nieves on LinkedIn. Great. Yes, I see you nodding on that. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom throughout this webinar. It's been a pleasure having you as our guest and talking about a topic that is very close to my heart as well. So I really enjoyed talking about how you can improve your own career and improve the lives of others. So thank you for that. We'll be back on usually next month in the middle of the month. Obviously, given that it is December, we would not be doing this podcast on the 26th or 27th of the month. So we will be live on the 12th of December with another exciting episode. So stay tuned for that. And thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.